Hey guys, I'm Wrestling Daze, and you're listening to the Insiders Wrestling Podcast.
Welcome everybody to episode 2 of the Insiders Podcast. We are so glad you could join us again. We really got a great amount of feedback from you guys this past week and loved all of the responses that you gave us for our first podcast and all of the compliments. We really appreciate everything that you've given us and you've come up with and you've sent us in. Keep that happening. Keep it all coming. We really appreciate it. And we have a great show for you guys this week as well. And we're going to get it started this week with a little bit of a different segment. Again, we took your feedback. We're listening to you guys. We want you guys to know that. And we changed some things up a bit. So we're going to start off with a new segment this week we're calling Off the Top Rope. So what this is going to be is we're going to look forward with this segment. We're going to say, what are the 3 things that Jeff and I are looking forward to the most for this upcoming week of wrestling? And that's what we're going to talk about first. We did send a poll out to you guys, and you guys voted from the 3 topics that we chose, and your votes are being heard. You guys said the Funhouse, the Firefly Funhouse coming up this Friday with Bray Wyatt was your top vote getter at 48%. You voted Matt and Brody in AEW at 43%, and then Randy Orton response on Raw to Edge is 8%. So Jeff, what are you most looking forward to this coming week?
Got to be honest with you, Joe. I'm really looking forward to what AEW does with the 2 major surprises, not really surprises, but major developments that came out of Dynamite last Wednesday. I'm really looking to see what happens with Brody Lee as the Exalted One. I think I called that pretty early. Most people were saying it was Matt Hardy, but I think I was kind of on that hill by myself for a little bit. And, I'm really looking forward to see what they do with him and what happens with him and Christopher Daniels. But I also want to see Matt Hardy and Chris Jericho. And I really want to see them kind of in a promo duel, just to see both of them on the mic and, see what they can do. I'm really excited about AEW for this week. They really hit a home run last week.
They really did. You really have to hand it to them and call them out because in all of this that's going on and it's just really hard to get everything to work for you and get out a good show. And just a quick look back there, like you had said, they just really did a great job with that show that they put on last week. And from the beginning promo with Cody to the end and all the surprises in between was really excellent. And I am with you there. I agree with you. I think I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens. Matt and Jericho together. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. 2 of the absolute best at promos. And the fact that they're moving in that direction, I think that is absolutely fantastic. Those guys are going to be great. And
yes.
And yes, I have been a Dark Order fan since that thing started. I joined the Dark Order, guys.
You sure did.
I joined it. I put it in Daze chat. I said, join the Dark Order. I was throwing the paraphernalia out there that they asked me to throw out there. So I am in the Dark Order 100%, and I'm behind it. And now having Brody Lee there, that makes that even better. Oh, I cannot wait to see what they are doing with that this coming week. So I
got to throw this in real quick too. Because we had someone say something about Brody Lee and how they didn't really, they never really heard him talk before. That video package of him coming out there as the Exalted One and him talking and the line where he said, "You're not the only old man that's doubted me." Oh my gosh. I loved it. Loved
fantastic.
It.
Absolutely fantastic. He got a nice dig in there at Vince McMahon.
Yes, he did.
Absolutely fantastic. I loved it. And yeah, I honestly I was like you. I didn't know at first. I think Dave said the same thing too. when you saw the guy walking out, the figure walking out with the coat on and stuff, you didn't really know at first because it was a coat similar to what we've seen Matt Hardy kind of wear.
Yeah.
And so they kind of teased you a little bit. And the voice, no one really ever heard him talk for how many years when he was in WWE. So you didn't really know what he sounded like. And I was just, when he walked out, oh man, that was a mark out moment for me. I loved it. I think Brody's going to be great in AEW, and I am super excited about what is coming up with that with those two athletes. Absolutely, I agree 100%. The other two choices we had, looking forward to those two. Number 2, number 3 for us. So number 2, the new Firefly Fun. I've been having so much trouble saying F words with it all together like that lately. And you guys, I am so sorry. You will hear that in Jodie's interview as well, which we're going to tell you about in a little bit. But yes, Firefly Fun House. Yes. That is coming up on Friday on SmackDown. I think we're all hoping, Jeff, that we get a full Funhouse episode.
Yes. We need a full episode, and it would be really nice if we get a little more in-depth knowledge as to this whole Cult of Wyndham thing on Twitter. It would be really nice. I don't think we will. I think that will be more of a WrestleMania reveal, but I really, really hope that we get a little more information on that this week.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know what it is. I don't think anybody really knows what it is, but it's out there. It's been out there for a couple of months now, and it's definitely being teased more and more. I know Bray's got friends on Twitter, Johnny Cage and others that are putting things out there that keep referring to it over and over again, and it's keeping us guessing like Bray always does. We don't really know what it is, and we're seeing some pictures. Is it, another character? Is it a faction? Is it something else completely different and not involved with the WWE? We don't know.
That's right. It's all a mystery, and that's what Bray does the best. Is he keeps us guessing. He has us coming up with theories and possibilities, and that's what makes him, one of the greatest guys to do what he's doing from a character work perspective.
Absolutely. And the fact that this isn't hampered at all by where they are, because they've got, as Daze had talked about on the community, they have got some studio equipment in that performance center that they can certainly make use of. And man, if they wanted ever to give us a full Funhouse episode, then this would be the time to do it.
Right. I mean, almost like a little mini movie, do something to that extent where it really breaks down, different parts of the Funhouse and what's coming up. Instead of doing the standard 2 to 3 minute episode, maybe give us 6 or 7 or 8 minutes of it. Do a whole segment of just the Funhouse.
Totally agree, man. Yeah, this is really the opportunity that they have to take it and run with this. And this is kind of what the Funhouse is made for. Like this kind of a thing, running promos. And if that's what they're going to do on these shows is get the promos out there, then what better way to finally give us everything we wanted with an actual Funhouse episode. So absolutely, I agree. And then the third one we had in there was the Randy Orton response to Edge, and we all know this thing has been brewing since Edge came back, and it looks like it's coming to a head in time for WrestleMania. And obviously it's going to be real interesting to hear what Randy says from Edge's attack last week. So this is just an excellent storyline, one that is going to be huge for WrestleMania. Everybody is going to be tuning in for this match, and anxious to hear what Randy's going to say this week.
Yeah, and honestly, in any other year, this is probably a main event worthy match, especially with this being a last man standing match. I really do think that this could main event just about any other pay-per-view. And, if you didn't have Roman and Goldberg, Brock and Drew, and, Fiend John Cena, this could be your main event. And, it was really funny seeing Roman Reigns tweet out, I don't know if you saw this, but he tweeted out something about the main event of WrestleMania, and Edge kind of went back at him and he says, hey, big pup, this Randy and I, this is a main event worthy
No
matchup.
kidding. No, I
Yeah,
didn't
it was.
see that.
You'll have to pull it up, but it was a pretty good little jab back at Roman there. But I'm really excited to see Edge and Orton, and I really want to see Edge and how he looks after all of this time back in the ring. It's one thing to go in and do a few spots and do some things in the Rumble, but how does he do in this type of match that they're setting up with it being a last man standing? You know, there's going to be violence, there's going to be chairs, tables, and everything else. How does he respond to that?
Yeah, that's a great point, Jeff. That's a great point because we haven't really seen. I mean, you know, he's come back and he lasted quite a long time in the Rumble. I was surprised at how long he was in there, and he took some hits. So yeah, but yeah, you're absolutely right. This is going to be a brutal match, and as you said, main event match and I'm going to put that match up there above Goldberg and Roman. I think it's going to be much better. It's going to be a much longer match. Not taking anything away from those guys, but we all know that Bill can't really go very long, so I don't think that match is going to last. I think it's going to be a couple spears and then that's it. And so yeah, this is going to be a huge match, and the storyline has been incredible, and I am really looking forward to that match as well. We did get one other answer that was sent in to us for the what they were most looking forward to, and that was, and we touched on it, this is from Jackson Oak in the community. He has said, excited for Jericho and Matt. Will be interesting to see how different Matt will be from WWE and impact the woken/broken Matt Hardy. And we did mention that, and thank you, Jackson, for the comment. This is going to be really cool. I mean, we all know now that Broken Matt is back, and Broken Matt is a crazy Matt Hardy.
And I think he'll even be crazier this time because one, this whole, you know, we want to see what Damascus is like. What does that do to the broken character? Then on top of all of that, you have him in AEW. And if there's anything we can say about AEW is they just let their guys have creative freedom and they can go out there, cut promos. I don't think a lot of them are scripted. So I'd love to see what Matt does in that environment, kind of unchained and away from the to borrow from Brody Lee, an out of touch old man who has doubted him.
I agree 100%. Yep, I agree, and that's what Matt Hardy keeps us looking forward to and excited with his gimmicks and everything he does. Very similar to Bray Wyatt. And I agree with you there 100%. That's very exciting. And again, thanks, Jackson, for that comment. So
thank you, Jackson.
Yep. So moving on, that is our look forward at the week, and that's a new segment. We hope you guys like it. I know that we're changing things up a little bit, and that is going to be a constant thing. We're going to look to change and get out there the content that you guys are asking for. So thank you for your feedback with that. So now we're going to talk a little about we have our first interview.
That's right.
Which was, Jodie Gilly from the community was nice enough to offer to be on our show, and we really appreciated that. And she came forward and asked if she could be with us, and she is joining us tonight. So we are going to give you a little clip here of her interview. We're teasing you guys. We're not giving you the whole thing. You're going to have to go after this is all over, and we are going to premiere Jodie's interview after Raw tonight. So you guys have something to stick around for. Stick around after Daze's stream tonight, and you can listen to the entire interview. And believe me, you're not going to want to miss this, especially if you are a Bray Wyatt fan, because Jodie talked all things Bray with a lot of stuff in there. And we're just going to give you a little preview of that right now, and we will come right back. Welcome, everybody, to this special interview, and we have got a real treat here for you guys today. We have one of our own community members, and the first one who volunteered to be with us, which is awesome. Today, we have Jodie Gilly. Jodie, welcome to the show, and thank you for volunteering to be with us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Awesome.
We are too.
Yeah, we're definitely excited to have you on. I'm sure the guys in the community have a lot they would like to know. One of the things that really started us out and all of us out was the Bray Wyatt thing and the Fiend character. So, and I know you have been a proponent of that character since you started. But before we get into all that, so Jodie, just tell the guys a little bit about yourself. So, what? First of all, where do you hail from? Where are you from, and what got you into wrestling?
I am originally from England, actually. I was born and raised in a city called Leicester, which is actually not far from where Daze lives, I don't think. And I moved to the U.S. with my family when I was 9 and lived in North Carolina for most of my life and moved up to Indiana, which is where I am now, in 2009.
That's awesome.
I got
Very
into
cool.
wrestling actually because of my husband. He has been a wrestling fan his entire life. And when we started dating about 3 years ago, he kept telling me, you've got to watch wrestling. You've got to watch wrestling. I love it. It's all I do it every week and you've got to watch this with me. So reluctantly, eventually I was kind of like, oh, okay, fine. So, the first match and the first episode I ever watched was the episode where Bray had his Ultimate Deletion match with Matt Hardy.
Oh, wow.
And that was the first time I ever saw Bray, first time I ever watched wrestling, and I was hooked. Both of those characters were I was just in awe. I was like, man, these guys are really cool. And so I was literally sitting there watching this, and I said, I like that dude. And he's like, oh yeah, Bray's awesome. You've got to go back and watch his old stuff. His old stuff is really, really good. So that was kind of how I got hooked on Bray. I had to go back and watch all his old matches and promos, and yeah.
That's awesome. Now we're getting into the meat and potatoes of this here. So see, now we're learning why,
That's
why
right.
Jodie is the big fan of Bray. So that's very cool. That's very cool. So was pretty much your introduction to wrestling. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
So how did you come to find the community? How did you come to find the Wrestling Daze community?
I don't even remember. I remember just finding him on YouTube at some point, and it was probably my husband that found it first. He's like, oh, you got to watch this dude. And we just started watching Daze. And when the teasers came out for Bray coming back, my husband was immediately saying, that's Bray Wyatt. He's coming back. And that was what prompted me to kind of join a Facebook group about it. And I joined the Firefly Funhouse fan group when it was about 200 members. And it didn't take long before the other admins kind of contact me, and they said, hey, we all kind of play our own little roles in terms of the puppets, and we need an Abby. So we need a girl. So they said, will you join our team and be our Abby? And that kind of stuck. So they still call me Abby.
Oh, see, now that's okay. That's awesome. So, and I mean, I joined that group. I remember pretty early on. So, in case you guys didn't know, Jodie was a big part of a Facebook group called the Firefly Funhouse Facebook group, Bray Wyatt group. And it was an astounding amount of people that joined that group in like the first couple, not even a month or so, and it exploded.
It exploded, honestly, because I remember the day, because I was at Smackdown. Me and my husband got tickets to go to Smackdown, and we went to Smackdown. And as we were leaving, we had just seen Bray leave in his car, and he waved to everybody. And as we were walking back to our car, my phone starts blowing up. I'm like, what the heck is going on? And apparently Wrestling Daze and C Wrestling had both mentioned the group, and that's when it kind of exploded, and it hasn't really stopped.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
How many members do you have now, Jodie?
We are at just about, I think we just hit over 14,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Yeah, that's crazy. And the amount of popularity that character had. And going back to the previous thing, when you had said that, your husband was watching the thing with the Funhouse, I know personally, and Jeff, I could probably speak for you too, when that first came on, and I had been waiting for months and months and months, and I'm checking the internet and I'm looking to see if there's anything at all on the internet about Bray Wyatt. And the only thing I could find was his post on Instagram, which were just, everyday life kind of things that he was posting on there. And I'm hearing rumors. He's coming back. He's coming back. He's coming back.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden,
you saw the box.
Yeah, we got the box, we got the rocking chair, and then we got, and I knew it too. So I can feel exactly what your husband said to you, because I'm thinking to myself, this is him. And yep. It was so great to see that. I mean, Jeff, you probably noticed the same thing.
Absolutely. As soon as I started seeing some of those little clues, I knew, because I knew that he had been away for a while, and I knew it was kind of time for him to reinvent himself. So when I saw that, I immediately got really excited, because I've been a fan of his for a long time. And, just seeing him evolve again was just really cool. So it drew me in. I mean, I was on the fence for a while with wrestling, but when I saw that, he drew me back in immediately.
So Jodie, what did you think when you first, what were you thinking when you first saw The Fiend appear?
I just thought it was awesome. I mean, when you first got the teasers, the couple of teaser Funhouse episodes, and he was saying that, he's learned so much and he can't wait to share it with everybody. And then he said he had a secret to share. And then The Fiend came out, and you're just sitting there going, what the heck is going on? And, you were just kind of like, what is he doing? Like, I don't understand what is going on. And then you just want to watch more. You're like, okay, now I need to know more about this person. Who is this Fiend person? And that little teaser was just, it's something so new and fresh, and something that WWE hasn't done for a really long time. And I know all the fans were they gravitated to it instantly.
Hope you guys enjoyed that little preview of Jodie's interview that we just gave you. And again, please come back after Raw tonight and listen to the entire thing, and you're going to love it. The biggest thing she's going to cover tonight is going to be her meeting Bray Wyatt. So again, if you are a Bray Wyatt fan, you've got to stay tuned and listen to Jodie's interview. And thank you, Jodie, so much for coming on with us and chatting with us. We all had a blast. Am I right,
Absolutely.
Jeff?
That's right. We had a great time interviewing Jodie, and just so we can put this out there, Jodie has been teasing something on Twitter for the last few days. So really check out that interview, because you're going to want to hear what it is, because she does reveal the full scope of what she's doing and what she's been hinting at. So, really check that out after the stream tonight.
Absolutely. Jodie went full Bray Wyatt on us, man.
She did.
She went full, but she gave us those cryptic tweets just like he does, and she's going to let you guys know what is coming up. She's got a big surprise for you at the end of that interview. So, yes, definitely tune in to Jodie's interview after wrestling tonight. So, yes, excited about that. And now we got more commentary. You guys sent us in, and we asked you guys what you wanted to see on the show, what you wanted to hear on the show. And this one again was given to us by community member. I call him Yeah Boy. He is at Yeah Boy 716, and he gave this to us. And basically, what it is was he said to ask Jeff and I questions about wrestling, getting to know us a little bit, I guess, maybe a little bit better. And we threw this out there to you guys, and you came up with some great questions for us. So, Jeff, are you ready to go? Ready to answer some of their questions?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. So the first question here came from Nalia. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. It's a little tricky. Nalia. She asks us, what was a moment in wrestling that made you jump out of your chair cheering and spilling your drinks and snacks everywhere? So she really embellished. Thank you, WrestleMania, for that question. Jeff, what's that big moment that just made you jump out of your seat that you can remember?
I remember this like it was yesterday. I was at home when I was much younger, and I was watching Bash at the Beach. And Hulk Hogan walks down the ramp, and he has this very determined look on his face. And, you know, these outsiders came to WCW, and they have a third guy, and who the heck is it? And Hulk Hogan does the unthinkable, and he turns heel. And that was that moment where I actually did spill my drink. I had some popcorn actually, and I actually threw the popcorn at the TV.
Oh, man.
And my mom made me quickly clean it up, but I did do that because it was such a pivotal moment in wrestling, period. Not just in WCW, but wrestling, period, because we grew up with Hulk Hogan being the superhero, you know, and say your prayers and eat your vitamins, and all of a sudden he's this heel, and he's with these two bad guys that are trying to take over WCW. And that was the moment for me where I spilled my drink and threw stuff at the TV. What about you?
I love it, man. That is a unbelievable moment in wrestling and changed the scope of wrestling forever in the 90s. That was an amazing moment. I'm going to stay right with that same company for mine, believe it or not. I had a lot of things to think about here because I wanted to go a little Hogan Andre, and when Andre turned heel. So that was right up there for me, because seeing that live and seeing the whole Piper's Pit where Andre came out and pulled the necklace off of Hulk Hogan was right up there for me. But, you know, and this comes from a little bit of my background. I'm kind of a geek. I love comic book stuff. I love movies and all that kind of stuff. And one of my favorite movies from the 1990s is a movie called The Crow. Well, now you guys know where I'm going with this.
Oh, yeah.
And when the Stinger came out and he was dressed up in all black and the white makeup, and they called themselves the Vigilante, but you knew that from the movie The Crow, that's what that was from. And when I heard that stuff in the background and the dialogue and the speaking part, and when he came down on that tether and had the baseball bat and did not say one word, oh my goodness, I marked out. It was the first time I saw Sting in quite some time. I knew him from his tag team days and stuff like that, but I never really watched that promotion because I was so busy watching WWE and WWF back then. And oh my goodness, what a moment. And I was hooked on that whole storyline because I loved NWO, loved that whole thing as well. And then when Sting came down and he was the guy who was going to stop this whole thing and stand up for WCW and his company, oh my goodness, what a moment.
That was a great moment. And then you fast forward to when he wrestled Hogan at Starrcade in '97.
Oh.
And the entrance and the video package leading up to his entrance.
Amazing.
Oh my gosh, just amazing stuff.
Just gave you chills, and It was absolutely amazing. So again, WrestleMania, thank you for that question. That was fantastic. Lets us relive some of that great stuff. Our second question, and this one's a funny one. This is Jackson Oak again. Jackson, thank you so much, by the way. He gave us a lot of feedback this week. He asked us, what is our favorite Days length beard? What's the favorite beard that we've seen on Wrestling Days?
Full length, not a clean shaven Days, but a full length beard. Full length. What about you?
You know what? I think I commented on this there. I said the one that Days hasn't grown yet. I said future Days beard, which I want to see. Man, I want to see longer than ZZ Top. I want to see down to the middle of his chest. I want to see Braun Strowman kind of beard going on Wrestling Days. I think it looks fabulous, and that beard can be as iconic as Rotella's mustache on the NWA podcast. So
that's right. Shout out to those guys too.
Yeah, absolutely. Always shout those guys out because they're fantastic. They gave us some feedback as well. We'll get into that as well somewhere down the line. But yes, but that's what I want to see, Wrestling Days, and that's what I want to see, his beard. We have two more questions from Jackson. That's why I said thank him. He gave us three of them. He wants to know why did we name the podcast The Insiders?
That's a great question, and I will gladly answer that. So given our love and affinity for the NWO, when we were thinking about names for the podcast, I really thought about the Outsiders. And since this is really a community podcast, it's, you know, it's more of a insider thing. So let's make a play off of the Outsiders and be the Insiders. But what I also thought about with the name was we want to bring the wrestling community deeper stories. We want to bring interviews from independent wrestlers and, you know, wrestlers with different promotions. So that also gives us an inside track into the wrestling community. So that was the inspiration behind the name.
Absolutely, man. And Jeff was the one who decided on the name. So again, awesome job, Jeff. I love it. And that is exactly where it came from. We were always a fan of the Outsiders, and obviously we turned it right around. And I'm all over that. We've been playing up on that. We had some faction discussions in the community chat. And man, you guys know I am a big Scott Hall fan. So I start off every little interaction with a, "Hey, yo." And started off right there. And yes, absolutely. Love the name. And thank you again, Jackson. And the third question from Jackson says, if you could meet any WWE, AEW, or NWA wrestler who is currently signed with their promotion, who would it be? What about you, Jeff?
That's a great question. That's a really good question. I think that I would like to meet Matt Hardy.
Mm-hmm.
I've never had the opportunity to meet him. Unfortunately, there were a couple times where our paths crossed, but it just didn't work out for me to be able to meet him. So I would really love to meet him, not just because I'm a fan, but if I were ever given the opportunity, I'd love to take just maybe 5 minutes and pick his brain about character development and coming up with a good promo, a promo style. But that would be who it is for me. What about you?
This one's going to come as a surprise to many people, and many people who know what I've been talking about on Twitter for the past few months, but maybe not so much of a surprise now if you looked at my Twitter photo lately. I want to meet the question mark. And it doesn't even matter if he tells me who he is. I want to travel to the mountains of Monrovia, and I want to meet the question mark, man. I think this guy is great. He brings me back to so many things when I was a kid and you know, the Masked Superstar and guys like that who I watched in the 80s. And man, I love what this guy is doing. I love the promos. I love the look. I love the stuff that he does. And he does it without saying anything really. And it's fantastic. I want to meet. And then Bray Wyatt,
yes.
He's right up there as well. For both of us, I know.
Yes.
You know, just a mastermind at what he does, and just the genius that he goes through writing these storylines for himself. Yeah, absolutely. He's right up there as well. But man, I want to meet the question mark. I love the question mark, and I love that whole thing.
Yeah, he's awesome. I mean, he really is, and the whole gimmick, and then having our friend Shooter Stevens out there with him. That's just it's fantastic. Fantastic.
Oh, so good. I just love it. I love it. Now we have a question from, this is Yowie Wowie, and it's at Bray 595165595 on Twitter. He is from our group as well. He asks, who, in your opinion, is the best pro wrestler of all time? All time.
Oh, that's tough. That's tough. I mean, I know a lot of people do the Mount Rushmore thing, which that would be a little easier, but it's still tough because you have to take every decade and every, you know, different thing into account. But for me, I think from an in-ring perspective, from a character perspective, and on the microphone, for me, is Ric Flair. I think in terms of his abilities in the ring, and if you're a younger wrestling fan, go back and look at some of his work in the NWA, look at some of the early WWF stuff, and some of the early days in WCW, just to get a sense of how great he was in the ring. Then you take the promos, and I mean, just pull up a Ric Flair promo on YouTube, and that's it. I don't have to say anything else about his promo skills, but in terms of his gimmick, Ric Flair lives his gimmick still until this day.
Absolutely.
So yeah, Ric Flair for me, definitely. What about you, partner?
Absolutely, man. That's a great call out there. And yeah, you were right. And I kind of maybe went off the cuff a little bit here because it was tough. It was a really tough choice. This is a tough question, man, because there are so many. And you know, I thought about The Rock. I thought about Stone Cold Steve Austin. I thought about Hulk Hogan, and there's just so many. I mean, Bruno Sammartino, if you want to go far back, these guys are all well deserved. But I chose, and I think I chose this. And he may have not gone down or will ever have gone down as the greatest technical wrestler, but man, just I got to say The Undertaker. I got to say The Undertaker.
Yeah.
And because of the impression he made on me, I could not miss a match this guy was in. I had to watch him. He was must-watch TV for many, many, many years. And he was just, I mean, when he walked out the first time, for you guys that didn't see it or young to see it, it was just stunning. And to this day, that gimmick has led to so many others doing so many of the similar things, led to, you know, Mick Foley's gimmicks. And even today with Bray, with what he's doing, all owe a great debt to The Undertaker. And, you know, the guy is just imposing in that ring, and his promos were fantastic. And so for me, it's The Undertaker, and mostly for all those reasons
And I want to give two honorable mentions here, because you mentioned a lot of the guys that I was thinking of, but two honorable mentions would be Harley Race.
Yep.
And Jake the Snake.
Oh, Jake the Snake. Yes, absolutely.
Jake the Snake, in terms of, if you ever want to see like a cold, kind of calculating promo, just go watch some of Jake the Snake's promos. I mean, they're fantastic. So two honorable mentions to add to the list that you already put out there.
Absolutely. We have a question next from Dave in real life. Thank you, Dave. It's at Grifted on Twitter. He says, hey guys, what was the moment in wrestling or match made you a wrestling fan for life? Mine was when Bret Hart won the IC title from Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect, in 1991. So what was the moment that grabbed you and made you keep watching wrestling?
I've talked about it a couple times now, but it was that match at the Greensboro Coliseum with Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat. That match was it's probably one of the best wrestling matches ever. I don't think that's hyperbole to say that, but those two and what they did in the ring, the story that they told, and, you know, just seeing everything that they came up with in that back and forth, and it went to a time limit draw. That match had me hooked. I was a wrestling fan before that, but when I saw that live, I was like, yeah, I got to keep watching this. So what about you?
I am going to go back to when I was a very young kid, because this is what hooked me on watching, and still to this day, it was a phenomenal. And forgive me if I don't have the exact location of this right. If I'm not mistaken, this match was held in Madison Square Garden. And it was Jimmy Superfly Snuka against Bob Backlund.
Oh, yeah.
Jimmy Snuka was a heel at this point. So Bob Backlund was always the good guy back then. Jimmy was a heel character at this point. So and complete turnaround from what he ended up becoming. But the iconic thing from that match that I won't ever forget is when Jimmy took off the top of that cage and did the Superfly off the top there. That was incredible to watch. And again, I don't that's a long time ago for me, and I can't remember what I ate for breakfast yesterday, so it's hard for me to recall some of it, but that match will always stand out in my head as the thing that got me hooked and continue to watch wrestling.
Absolutely.
We got Godzilla Artist up next, and he asks us, if you could go back and change one moment in wrestling history, what would it be?
For me, I don't really know if it's a moment. There's several moments and probably about 2 years of it, but I would like to see what would have happened if WCW was managed properly back in the late 90s and early 2000s, because you can go back and you can look at all the documentaries on the Monday Night Wars and all of that, and you hear everyone kind of giving their assessment as to who was to blame for it and who wasn't. I think that having those two companies at that time, if it had continued up until this point, how different would wrestling look right now if WCW hadn't, kind of mismanaged their way out of business and was still a viable company to this day, how that would look. But that's my moment. It's not really a moment, but that's what it is for me. What about you, Joe?
This is this was a tough call. You know what? I'm probably going to have to agree with you there because, I was thinking that was right up at the top of my list too. And I couldn't really think of anything that had as much of an impact, but you're right. I agree with you here because if that had gone differently, I mean, even tracing it back to when they made the Goldberg versus Hogan match as part of a regular show instead of having that be a pay-per-view. What a huge mistake they made. And if that would have kept on going, man, the sky was the limit for that company. I'm going to totally agree with you there. I can't think of anything that could have changed the scope of wrestling as much as that did.
Yeah. When they did that, and then when the NWO started splitting into its own factions and the NWO had their own pay-per-view and all of that, I knew it was in trouble from that point. So, I really would have, at that point, come up with a different group to combat them. I mean, you had Sting, you had some of the other guys, come up with a different faction. But, that whole mismanagement thing. And, like I said, there are all these different documentaries and everything out there about who's to blame. A lot of people say it was Eric Bischoff.
Yep.
But I wasn't there, so obviously I'm not going to assume any of that. But I just really wish that would have been handled differently.
I agree completely with you, man. We have one from Chalmers. Giamfi. I don't want to mispronounce your name. I'm sorry if I'm butchering that. But he sends in, what company do you guys want to be signed to as a ref, wrestler, commentator, etc.? So, Jeff, I'll throw this out to you first, man. You were a wrestler, so whatever you're thinking here, buddy, go right ahead and let them know.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I probably couldn't wrestle anymore because bad knees, bad back, wrestling takes a toll on your body. So I would probably like to go in as a ref or even a manager of sorts, but I would love to go to the NWA. Just because of the feel, the way that they produce the product, I could really enjoy being a part of the NWA for sure. What about you, Joe?
I'm going to play devil's advocate, and I'm going to say I want to be a writer for WWE because I want to fix some of the stupid things they do.
Yes. Yes.
The journalist in me, there's been so many times when I'm sitting back saying, man, I could do so much better with this storyline. Well, you know what? I want to prove it. I want to work for the WWE, and I want to be a writer, man. I want to get behind that pencil, and I want to help these guys create. I want to work with guys like Bray Wyatt, who comes up with this brilliant stuff. I want to, get right in there with him and write some stories for that company. So yeah, man, that would be amazing. That'd be a dream job. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. All right. And for our next question, we have, this is from Matthew, and Matthew we all know as Rusty Shackelford. And Rusty, I'm just going to say this once. We will always tell you what to do. Always tell you what to do. Anyway, thanks for the question, Rusty. So he writes, since you are both into wrestling and horror films, which, yes, we are.
Yes.
Do you ever find yourself sitting around comparing some wrestlers to horror movie villains? If so, name some of them.
Ooh.
Nice. Good question.
That is a good question.
It is. I can start out. I mean, I always thought that Mankind was very Leatherface-ish. with the oh no, I'm sorry, not a little Leatherface-ish, but oh my goodness, what's the name? The Hannibal Lecter movie.
Got you. Yeah. Silence of the Lambs.
There you go. I knew we'd get it. Yes.
Dr. Hannibal Lecter.
Yes, yes. So he a little bit the mask there with Hannibal Lecter. And I've said before that the Fiend reminds me of a cross between a Jason Voorhees character and the Joker. You take those two together and put them together, and you've got, I mean, the Fiend with his invulnerability, the fact that he just gets up after being hit. That's very, very Jason Voorhees-esque. I mean, you can go right down the list of a lot of these characters that you could tell got horror inspiration for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there was something there for Kane as well.
Yep.
I just can't think off the top of my head, but what do you think?
That's a really tough question, and I can't really think of a crossover between the two, but I just keep thinking about the Boogeyman.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure somebody in the community will let us know who they feel is a good tie-in with the Boogeyman, but I'll always go back to him because, you know, after The Undertaker, he kind of came in with that type of gimmick and mystique almost, and smashing the clock over his head and eating the worms and all of that.
Yep.
I can't really think of a good crossover, but yeah, Boogeyman for sure.
I mean, I know, yeah, definitely. There have been some great horror-inspired characters through the years, and I mean, that just keeps on, keeps on going. And now that Bray's doing this work with the Fiend, it's going to keep going after this too. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people inspired by that as well. So, great question, Rusty. Thank you very much for that. By the way, Rusty is going to be on our show.
That's right.
So he volunteered as well. So thank you for that one as well. And then we have another question here. This is from everyone's favorite Callan Corner. Jessie Callan asked us a question, and she writes, what got you both into wrestling? So I will let you start, sir. What got you into wrestling?
I just remember being a small kid. I think I was maybe 4 or 5, and I'm watching TV one Saturday morning. And normally it was, Saturday morning cartoons. And I just changed the station over one day by accident. And I saw these big, huge dudes beating each other up. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And I said, I want to start watching that. And my parents were a little leery of letting me see that because they were afraid that I was going to try that out on a family member or someone at school. But, that's what really got me into it. I started learning a little more about Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior and Andre the Giant. And, this area that I grew up in, as a matter of fact, is really rich with professional wrestling talent. Unfortunately, before Andre the Giant passed away, I live about maybe 15 minutes from the house that he had before he passed away, in Ellerbe, North Carolina. And the Koloffs are, pretty big around here. Obviously, Ric Flair being from the area, from Charlotte, which is about an hour and a half from where I grew up. So, yeah, I mean, it's always been a rich area for wrestling talent. But that one Saturday morning when I changed the channel, and no, I did not have a remote to change the channel. This is when you had to go to the TV and change it. But, yeah, that's what got me into wrestling. What about you, Joe?
Yeah, Saturday morning wrestling for me, I mean, Saturday mornings are always big for kids anyway, the way it was when I was growing up, because you had all the cool cartoons and series and stuff on there. And then after they ended, in the mornings, you'd get wrestling around 11 o'clock or noon. I think it was on a channel out of New York City. that we got. And so, yeah, I've been watching it ever since then. The studio shows that were done on Saturday mornings. And then obviously my dad took me to a bunch of shows when I was a kid. Meeting Andre the Giant at that one show that I did was amazing. Just seeing all that stuff and yeah, I mean, I got into it very young, and I've been watching ever since. So but I got into it very, very young age and loved it ever since.
Yep, same way.
So thank you, Jesse, for that question as well.
Yeah.
Our last question comes from BJK13. And he asked us, this is probably an easy one for us to end up here. What is your favorite movie?
That's not as easy as you think it is. I have quite a few. Obviously different genres, but since I'm a horror movie guy, and this is probably going to be considered blasphemous to some people because you've got, Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street and all of those, but for me, the first Saw movie.
Okay.
I know that's a little bit outside of the box, but the first Saw movie, and the reason why is because it was such a different feel to a horror movie, and the ending had me like I had no clue that what happened at the end was going to happen. So just from that standpoint alone, the original Saw movie, my favorite movie of all time. What about you, Joe?
This will come as a bit of a surprise, and I've gone through this, me being the geek growing up that I was and loving all the sci-fi and horror and everything like that too, but I don't think anybody knows how much this movie maybe meant to me when I was a kid, and I saw this pretty young. And Star Wars is obviously right up there for me too, the original, but I'm going to go with Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Love the movie. I love I was in awe of this film because at that point in time when I was that age, it was probably around 9 or 10, I guess. And I was infatuated with, UFOs and science fiction and all that kind of stuff. And just seeing that movie, man, it really just sucked me in. I remember seeing the movie poster, and the poster even infatuated me because I remember, driving home with my dad, and we were going home, and you'd see that roadway, and as your car is going up that roadway at night, and and then you see the light in the background of the movie poster, and that was really a movie that just stays with me to this day, and I could watch it over and over and over and over again. So, yep, that is mine. So, hey guys, listen, this has been fantastic. We loved your questions. We loved the responses. We loved that you got back to us with this, and loved the segment. And if you guys ever want us to do something similar to this again down the road, please let us know. And I hope that you enjoyed getting all of our answers from this, as well as we did providing them for you. So awesome job, and we appreciate that, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
All right, guys. So we are now into the final part of our program today, and we're calling this the Community Shoot. Now, this is going to be something, again, that you guys are going to get to us every week. You're going to let us know things that you like, things that you might want to see in the community. And we got one this week from Dave in real life. He's one of our community members as well. And he asked about if we could possibly spotlight people's collections. So we all know that Daze got started with toy videos and figure videos and stuff like that. So it's a big part of the wrestling community. A lot of people who watch do collect a lot of figures and items and stuff like that. So we are going to spotlight. Dave had sent us in a picture of his collection. He's got a lot of pop vinyl figures there, a lot of wrestling figures on the shelves as well underneath. So you can see Dave's picture of his collection. And I never really, I've collected a lot of things in my life. I'm kind of a collector, but I've never really collected a lot of wrestling stuff. In fact, I think I was telling Daze once, I have 2 wrestling figures. I have a figure of NWO Hogan, which is from back when that started, so the 1990s. I'm not even sure the company who was making them then. And I have a figure of Kane. And the reason I remember buying that figure was because it said you could, and nobody saw him without his mask. So I bought it because it said Unmasked Kane. So I'm like, oh, this is going to show what this what a ripoff that was. I took the mask off and it showed this really weird looking face with like a goofy looking lip thing and a scar. It almost looked like a Jason Voorhees face.
Yeah.
It was just the dumbest thing. I'm like, oh, this is really stupid. But yeah, I only have the two. I never really got into, I mean, I have plenty of other collectibles, but just never got into wrestling figures. I'm not sure why.
Yeah, I never really collected a lot of wrestling memorabilia or merchandise. I was more of a, I guess, baseball card, football card collector back in the day. So I never really collected a lot of wrestling stuff. But I'm always envious when I see it because it's so cool and to see everyone's different collections. And, you know, now with the popularity of the Funko, you know, that's seeing all those collections. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
At some point, I'd love to start collecting, but, you know, I tip my hat to everyone who's been collecting for a while. I get envious when I see people post pictures of old programs, wrestling programs that they've held on to from the card subject to change, and then you've got the whole card listed. And I'm pretty sure that my mom told me a while, you know, before she passed away, she told me to hang on to the program of the first match that I went to. And when she passed away, we were going through a lot of her stuff, and I think someone mistakenly got rid of that. So
oh boy.
Yeah, so that would have been the one thing that I still had. But yeah, I'm always envious when I see those collections. So
same here, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here. We see a lot of this stuff from you guys, and yeah, I mean, if you listen, guys, if you like this, if a lot of you have big collections, please send these in. Send us the pictures of them, and we will gladly throw this in the community shoot like we did with Dave. And again, Dave, thank you for the suggestion. I'm sure the community is going to like it. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, so that has been the community shoot for the week. We love it. We love the suggestions. And guys, listen, this has been a fantastic episode. We loved all your feedback. Again, this is what we are here for. You guys giving us ideas, giving us things to post up, giving us, you know, everything we need basically to do the show. And you're making it real easy for us. It's great. We love it. Again, thank you so much to Jodie Gilly for volunteering to be on and be our first guest this week. And I hope you guys all stick around after the show for her interview. I'm going to give you a little tease as to what is coming up. So we have got some great interviews coming.
Yes.
We have Holodead, which I just announced that today. Jeff, we have Gary. Tell him how cool the Gary interview is going to be.
Oh my goodness. If you're a fan of just insider information, if you are interested in becoming a wrestling journalist, if you'd like to write for a website, check out this interview. We will post it on Friday. It'll be a part of our episode on Friday. But check this interview out. We'll do a snippet of it in our podcast, and we'll put the full length video up in its entirety after SmackDown. But we had so much fun doing that interview, and thank you, Gary, for agreeing to do it. And you know, we look forward to having him back on in the future, because I really feel like it went that well. And we could have kept talking to him for another hour.
Absolutely.
But yeah, if you're interested in the inside information, if you want to listen to someone who's talked to some of the top names in professional wrestling, tune in Friday, because Gary will not disappoint.
Absolutely. It was a great interview. And you guys as well. You guys have, we're inundated here, guys. We have so many of you that have said you'd like to be a part of the show, that want to come on the show. We can't even keep up. We had to make a calendar. You know, Jeff made up a Google calendar for us, almost like an appointment calendar. It's insane. We also asked Mr. Adam Rotella to be a part of the show, and I was in discussion with Elder Sauer from NWA Pod, and that's going to end up happening as well. So we have got got some great stuff coming up, and we are just so excited to be doing this and coming to you every single week. Remember, again, we've got the show coming up on Friday before the Smackdown stream as well, and don't forget to watch Jodie's video premiere tonight. And I cannot let you guys go without your favorite segment of the show.
Oh yeah, this blew the internet and social media up last week, so we had to do it again.
We had to do it again. This is the embarrassing picture of the week, the sequel, part 2. And here it is, guys. I hope you enjoy it. And listen, I hope I'll be seeing you guys all throughout the week in the chats. Jeff will as well. And we hope to see you again on Friday. Take care, everyone. Have a great wrestling week.